There are a few factors to consider when deciding how many shares of a particular stock to buy. In addition to your available capital, you should consider diversification and purchasing fractional shares of stock. With that in mind, here's a quick guide that can help you determine the ideal number of shares to buy. How many shares can you buy based on price? First, let's look at how many shares you can buy. Assuming your broker doesn't charge commissions for stock trades, online brokers typically don't calculate the number of shares you can buy with a certain amount of money is easy. We'll use the following formula to demonstrate how to determine how many shares you can buy. Number of shares equals amount of money you can spend on a stock. Current share price of the stock. Let S take the current share price of a stock and multiply it by the number of shares you want to buy to determine what you'll need to spend. Now, if you're thinking, hey, this is simple, that's exactly what we wanted to hear because it means you're off to a great start on your investing journey. If you're still feeling a little confused, don't worry, we've got you covered. Check out our other videos on the basics of stock market investing to build up your confidence. Now let us see how you can use the formula to determine the number of shares you can buy. Here's another scenario. Say you've got $5,000 to invest in Johnson & Johnson stock. But wait, before you go plugging those numbers into the formula, take a moment to pause. J&J currently trades for around $195 per share. So let's check to see how many shares you can buy with that amount of money. Number of shares equals $5,000. $195 per share equals 25.64 shares. Rounded to the nearest whole number, this means you can buy 25 shares of Johnson & Johnson. Remember, the exact number of shares you can buy will depend on the share price. This is why it's essential to stay up to date on the latest stock prices. And speaking of staying up to date, it's also crucial to keep yourself informed about the hottest stocks on the market. But don't worry, we've got you covered. Check out our other video on the top 10 stocks right now. It's a great way to stay informed and expand your investment portfolio. What about fractional shares? Some brokers allow you to buy fractional shares. Fractional share investing has become increasingly popular in recent years, particularly among younger investors. But what exactly is a fractional share? Simply put, a fractional share is a portion of a single share of stock. This means you can invest in companies whose share prices may be too high for your budget without having to pay the full price for an entire share. To illustrate how fractional shares work, let's look at Apple. The current share price of Apple is approximately $180. If you have $100 to invest in Apple, but you can't afford to buy a full share at the current price, you can use a fraction instead. In this case, you could buy 0.56 shares of Apple, which is equal to $100. With fractional shares, you can invest in the companies you want, even if you can't afford a whole share. So be sure to check with your broker to see if they offer this option. But don't stop there. It's important to learn about some of the potential disadvantages of investing in fractional shares. First, the fees associated with fractional shares can add up quickly. Many brokers charge a small fee for each fractional share transaction. Additionally, some brokers impose an inactivity fee if you don't trade regularly. Finally, investing in fractional shares may limit your ability to diversify your portfolio. This is because you'll likely end up holding many fractional shares of different companies, which can reduce your overall return. So it's important to weigh the pros and cons before deciding whether or not fractional shares are right for you. How much money do you need to invest? As we mentioned earlier, the amount of money you have to spend will influence the number of shares you can buy. However, it's not the only factor to consider. You should also think about how much money you need to invest in order to make a profit. To determine how much money you need to invest in order to make a profit, you'll need to first know the current share price of the stock you want to buy. Once you have the share price, you'll need to determine how much money you want to make. Finally, you'll need to decide how long you're willing to hold the stock. Let's take Ford Motor Company as an example. The current share price of Ford is approximately $12. If you want to make $1,000 in profit and you're willing to hold the stock for 1 year, you'll need to buy 83.33 shares. We can figure this out using the following formula. Number of shares equals profit desired. Share price asterisk 365. The 365 in this equation represents the number of days in a year. Of course, it's important to remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and there's no guarantee that you'll make it.